Okay, I think we are live now. Welcome, everyone. Let's take a few moments to wait for everyone to join in the meeting. I'm very happy that so many of you registered, and it's another webinar in our schedule. To also get you a bit more into our products and features that are newly released. And just a few, let's say now months actually ago, I had a webinar with Janos Willi. I already see him also as an attendee, so nice to not see you, but good to have you here as well. Yes, and the feedback was very well after that one, and so we thought we will plan a new one to give you more insight into a new topic that we are today talking about. Let's wait a few more moments, and then I guess we can start the intro of my two ladies that I have with me today.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Jana.
And I was fortunate to win for the webinar as experts, but they will tell you all about it in a moment, I guess. Maybe to start off, today's topic is about automations. I'm not sure if you've seen it in the product before and it crossed your way. I hope so. Otherwise, in the past few weeks, there were a lot of new features around it released to basically give you more power to use automations and make your day-to-day work actually easier. Or even empower you to do some actions on an automatic basis. So topic of today is go with the CRM flow, so not the yoga flow, but today's after lunch break, let's say it that way, flow is around automations. Let's take a look on the agenda, what we will talk about today a little bit. So in the first few minutes, Chloe, and she will introduce herself, I think, in a few moments, will guide you through a few questions around automation. So what is automation? Why is it actually so important? And how can it actually empower you in your day-to-day work as a recruiter? To handle all the talents and also keep track of processes that you're following in your CRM. Talking about triggers and filters and actions, especially the new ones that came to the system in the past few weeks. And then giving you a little bit of best practices and advice what to keep in mind thinking about automations basically, or if you want to start using them at a larger scale. And then after that, Marina will do a demo on actually how to create automations, and will also give you some examples in a candidate journey, what could be automations that can be used and make your life easier. So at this point, there's only one more thing I wanted to say. All of you are mute who are listening, so feel free to use actually the chat to ask questions if there are any. I will have a look at the chat and will ask the questions for you to Chloe and Marina because I know a little bit what they will talk about to like the specific time when it fits. And otherwise, I hope it's interesting for you, and handing over to Chloe at this point.
Thank you, Jana. So hello, everyone. Very happy to welcome you on this webinar. Perhaps first, let's introduce ourselves. So I'm Chloe Butgen, Product Director at CleverConnect. And Marina, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. Hello, I am Marina Manjat. I am Senior UX Designer at CleverConnect. I am in charge of basically everything is usability and how the product looks like. So yeah, together with of course with Chloe and the product people.
Thank you, Marina. So as Yana explained, today we'll talk about automations and how it can help you to get more candidates and more applications. In a period of talent shortage, CRM is all about collecting talent, identifying the right talent for the right job, and getting them motivated to apply. So what is automation and how can it help you to get the right talents? CRM will help you to build relationships with talent so that when you have a new open position to fill, you already have identified the right talent who could be interested in this position. In this process, automations will help you in two ways. First way, automations will help you to build a rich database of talents with as much info and data as possible, including areas of interest, education history, or seniority. They will save you some time by automating tasks like tagging talents, adding talents to pool, or requesting GDPR consent. Second way, automations will help you. Automations will help you to nurture those talents at scale and grow their motivation to apply at your company by designing an efficient talent journey, sending email campaigns to the right talents at the right time. So, to make it clearer, let's go through a more concrete example, and let's take the example of John, a backend engineer. John has already applied to a position at your company, but he was not hired. He ended up as the second best candidate. We call them the silver medalists. And you think that John could be a good fit for another position at your company in the future. So your objective will be to keep him interested and motivated to apply to a new position at your company. Silver medalists are automatically added in your CRM with the integration of your CRM with your ATS. And with automations, the system will send a GDPR consent email as soon as the talent has been created. From here, you know that you are on the safe side to collect data on John's profile and to communicate with him. Then John can enter a talent journey to maintain his interest and motivation to join the company. It can be through inviting him to recruiting events or webinars, for example. Each time John registers for such an event, it is an opportunity to collect data through forms and to enrich his profiles. After a while, there is an open position that could be a good fit for John, but his talent status in your CRM has been interested for more than 1 month, and he hasn't applied yet to this position. So with the corresponding automation rule, the recruiter will get a notification, an email notification to alert on this talent that could be a good fit for the position. The recruiter can then call John and get him motivated to apply. So this is a typical example where automations make your sourcing easier and leverage on passive candidates to fill in open positions. Now, on a more practical way, how to set up an automation. Automation rules management, I don't know if you have already seen them in your CRM, are in the settings of your CRM under the menu automation. Here you'll have the ability to see the full list of automations that have already been set up in your CRM and to create a new rule. To set up a new automation rule, you have to choose at least one trigger to define the targeted talents and one action, which is the effective task that the system will run. Actions can be, we'll see it in details, but sending an email or tagging the talents. You can optionally add filters to narrow down the group of targeted talents based on their profile information. Before we go further, I would like to add a warning. Automations leverage the usage of a talent database, but it comes with a risk. One only rule of automation can impact a large number of talents. So for example, if you set up a rule with an action as sending emails, you could spam a large number of talents with emails. Or if you set up a rule with an action which is change the talent status, you could pollute your database by setting a same status to all the talents. So beware of these risks before activating new rules. And that's why if you are just getting started with automation, our advice would be start small. First, define very specific objectives. It can be, for example, enrich your talent database with who are engineers with skill tags. It's a very specific objective. And then you can set up a few rules on small targets of talents. Observe the impact of these rules on your database, and then you'll be able to deploy your strategy and to design more and more complex talent journeys. So now, to get into details, let's go through the list of triggers, filters, and actions that are available to date in the CleverConnect CRM. When you set up a new rule, you have to choose a trigger to define the targeted talents. So you have today 5 types of triggers, and there are: the talent has been created, the talent has given his GDPR consent for the first time, the talent status has been changed, his application status has been changed, or the talent has submitted a new talent form. Here are the list of these triggers with very detailed description, but I think they're pretty transparent. So if you agree, I will skip this slide and go through the filters now. The filters help you to determine a more precise group of talents based on any field available in the talent profile. It could be, for example, the country of the talent or the availability of the talent. And now the actions. Actions are the effective tasks that the system will perform to collect either data on talents, or to nurture their motivation, or to help you source the right talents for one of your open positions. It can be, for example, adding the talent to a pool, sending a notification to a recruiter, sending a campaign, an email campaign to the talent, sending a GDPR consent email, or changing the talent status, or adding a tag to the talent profile. Last things, it's again the list of actions, but I think it's pretty transparent. So now, last things before going through the demo. And let's wrap up some best practices and important things to keep in mind when you set up your automation rules. First, on the importance of defining the right group of that will be affected by the automation. Here, you've got a good example where the pretty large group of talents, which are all the talents with a changing status to qualified, has been narrowed down by filters. Here, the filters are on the country and the work experience. So this way, you can avoid spamming a large number of talents and just testing a new automation rule and his impact on your database. On the contrary, here you've got a more risky example. And you can see here that there is no filter to narrow down the large database of talents are defined as the target. So it's a little bit riskier. And if you are just getting started with the automation, we wouldn't advise such rules. Also, keep in mind that when you publish a new rule, you have to activate it with the blue toggle, which is just beside the Publish Rule button. You can activate the rule just before publishing it or just after having published the new rule in the list of rules of your CRM. If you don't activate the rule, obviously it won't run. 3 last things to keep in mind. Remember, the rules are not retroactive. So it means that they are fired only on a changing condition of a talent. If the condition already existed on the talent before the rule was set up, then it won't be fired. Second thing, automation could be performed in the system with a slight time delay between the changing condition of the talent and the firing of the rule. But it's only a few seconds, so normally you even don't notice it. Lastly, be aware that some automations could interfere each other's if you have several automation rules set up. For example, if you set up several rules that have as an impact to change the talent status, and if they impact the same talent, one rule could cancel the result of the other one. I think I'm done with the overview of automations. So now, Marina, the floor is yours for the demo.
Thank you.
Maybe, Marina, before you start, are there any questions from everyone listening about what Chloe presented? I've already said it in the chat. So of course the slides are going to be distributed. So also the details in terms of what each trigger, each filter, and each action actually means, this will also be distributed. But so far, no questions. So Marina, I think you can go ahead and show us how it's done.
Okay, cool. So I will do a little bit of a step back to this flow that Chloe introduced that represent one typical or one possible talent journey. As Chloe already mentioned, all of these actions can be actually automated within our CRM. For the sake of time of today, I will just focus on 3 cases that we can automate together that cover when a talent entered the system as a silver medalist, when a talent attends to a recruiting event, and for example, the recruiting department wants to make sure to send follow-up messages or campaigns to these talents. And the third case would be when a talent is stuck, so to say, in a talent status, so it's not really proceeding in the process. Recruiters might set up an automation to get notified and actually take actions on this. So let's imagine that I am a recruiter and I am in charge of managing silver medalists or second best candidates with a specific focus on engineering, for example. And I would ask myself, how can I automatically request consent when silver medalists enter the system? How can I set up follow-up campaigns, follow-up emails when a specific target group of people participate to a recruiting event? And third, how can I make sure to get notified if any of my talents is not really proceeding, so I can actually take an action? So I will now share my screen and let we go into the product. So you should now be able to see my screen. We are in the CRM in the talents list. Let's go to settings. Let's go to automation, manage rules. In this area, as Chloe already mentioned, you will be able to see all the existing rules you have in the system. At the moment, I have only 2, but I already know that some of our customers have several. if I want to create a new rule, I will click create rule, and I will be in this view where basically I have these 3 steps, like defining a trigger, defining the filters, and defining an action that I want to be performed automatically. For the first use case, let's remember, I want to make sure that all silver medalists that enter the system are requested GDPR consent. So if I want to define the trigger, I will for sure use talent is created. In my company, for example, when we have to manage silver medalists, we import them via the API with the ATS, but can be also other different ways. So if you don't have, so first of all, let's filter down source is, and then here you have all the possible sources you have. So if you have actually an integration with an applicant tracking system, you can use API import. Otherwise, if you want to import silver medalists, for example, via an Excel file, you can simply select import. So I will select API import as an example, and I want to make sure that these people will be silver medalists. So on the import phase, I will be able to tag these talents. And I would suggest to use, for example, is one of, and then select silver medalist. By doing so, I will make sure to execute my action on the right target of people. And then, of course, as an action, I will select send consent email. That is basically the GDPR request consent. In the next step, I would recommend always to set up meaningful titles for rules, because then in the list, you will basically have several rules and it will be easier to recognize what you need. For example, this is request consent to silver medalists. And as Chloe said, always remember to switch on the rule using this toggle. You can also do it afterwards, but yeah, I will show you in a minute. And okay, we have created our rules. So now every single person that will enter the system via API with this tag, silver medalist, will then receive this consent request email. The second use case is that I mentioned before. I want to send follow-up emails to people that participated to recruiting events, okay? So let's imagine that there are recruiting events and we use forms to collect more information about the talents or the candidates that participates to these recruiting events. So the trigger could be talent form has been submitted. In this case, I will have to choose the form that has been used, that we normally use at recruiting events. And in this case, I have this generic form recruiting events with specific fields that we ask. And in the moment where I will want to follow up on engineers, for example, I can add some filters like area of interest. That is one of the fields that were in this form that we used, is one of engineering, and I will apply. And then, of course, I can select the action that would be send a campaign to the talent, and I will select a template that is follow up for engineering event. Same, I will set up a rule, the title of the rule, follow up for engineering. And I can save the rule and activate it in a second moment if I want to. The third example will cover the case where I want to make sure to get notified if one of the talents I'm monitoring, it's not really proceeding as expected. So when I create a rule, I can, for example, define if the following talent status is set to, and I can select which status. In this case, could be interested or contacted. I can set a time span. This is something pretty new we introduced. So we can decide that if a person is in this state for more than 30 days, Of course, I can always filter down the people. So again, let's remember I'm focusing on engineering. So I can, for example, use tags for to define the group, or also, again, using area of interest is engineering. So I will make sure that this is a very specific target group. Remember that filters worked with the end relationship. So this must be true at the same time for the talent. So let's remember that. And then, of course, I can select as an action, send a notification to this recruiter. I can send myself, or I can set someone else, for example, Sarah Davis in this case. And here I will set up a meaningful title, notify Sarah Davis about interested talents for more than 30 days, for example. We'll switch it to active, and I will publish the rule. So I think it's pretty clear so far. As a last hint, I want to show you how this can be identified on talent profiles. When you go on a talent profile in the activities tab, you will be able to see if there are automation happening. In this case, when there is this little icon with the robot, and you can see that system has changed the status to qualified, or system has sent campaign follow-up for engineering event to the talent. This is the automation working for you, and you can monitor what is going on in the activities list of the talent. Is there any question?
I can't see any questions in the in the chat so far. So I would say we are good, and we're actually also still in time. So we reserved for you 15 minutes of questions if they would come up to answer for you. So we will stay here, let's say 5 more minutes or 10 more minutes. So if you're still typing, we of course will answer all of this first. But I see someone typing, so let's wait a little bit. But thank you, Marina and Chloe, already for preparing all of this. And I know Nicole is asking if there's a recording of the webinar. Yes, there is. And we will also distribute it to everyone who registered. And then, yeah, Maren, thank you for the feedback. I hope it gave you also a little bit of insight what's new, because we've communicated, I think, last month via the newsletter. So always keep an eye out for them as well, to be informed like what's changing. But I have the feeling that we will a little bit do more of these kind of webinars to give you a little bit more insight into product features, and show you how they work with a few examples. There are a few more typing. Okay. So everyone said they don't have any more questions, but it was super helpful. So Chloe, Marina, maybe I can win you again for a webinar in the future. Let's see.
Sure.
Thank you so much for helping me to come up with everything. And if there are still coming in questions, it's fine. I will distribute it to the customer success managers to also follow up on them. But I think Chloe, Marina, you can you can go. and yeah, have a coffee for the afternoon.
Thank you, Jena.
Thank you, everyone, for participating, and feel free, of course, to reach out if you have any question or feedback, anything.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.